Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. A hearty welcome to Dr. John Innes, Chair of the Standing Committee on Commonwealth Forestry. We welcome Dr. Peter Holmgren, Director General, Center for International Forestry Research, C4. A hearty welcome to Dr. S.S. Negi, former Director General, Forest and Special Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. A big welcome to Dr. Anil Kumar, Additional Director General, FC, Forest and Special Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. A hearty welcome to Mr. Michael Klein, Executive Director, UFLO. Thank you very much for this command. Ladies and gentlemen, Forest Research Institute of DEHRADUN is very proud to host the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference 2017. Hosted as Director FRI and Vice Chancellor of FRI University is Dr. Savrata, who is an Indian Forest Service officer of 1985 batch belonging to Himachal Pradesh, Bharat. Let me call upon you, ma'am, for the welcome address and for the introduction of the 19th CFC 2017.
It was organized in 1968 at New Delhi. The 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference is the second in India, being inaugurated today at Forest Research Institute, DEHRADUN. It is after a gap of nearly 50 years that India is once again privileged and honored to host 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference on behest of Commonwealth Forestry Association. It is indeed a matter for great pleasure and a proud moment for Forest Research Institute to be a part of this important event at a critical time when global community and various world forums have recognized pivotal role of forests in achieving sustainable development goals, improving livelihood and combating climate change. Thus, this conference being organized by Forest Research Institute under the auspices of Commonwealth Forestry Association, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, and Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, from 3rd of April, that is today, to 7th of April, that is Friday, 2017, has rightly chosen the theme of Forests for Prosperity and Austerity. Obviously, recent great expectations from the world's forest put great onus on the larger fraternity of forestry scientists, practitioners, policy and decision makers, and others working day and night towards sustainable forestry. It is envisioned that appropriate policies, legislations, strategies, and innovative approaches to forest management, technology advancement, and efficient monitoring systems will be devised and put in place so as to maintain ecological, social, and economic values of forests. As the organizers of the conference, we have been eagerly waiting for this great event to happen. I am extremely happy to see the impressive gathering of world leaders in the field of forestry who have come from far-flung Commonwealth nations and different parts of India to specifically deliberate on the subject that is very close to their hearts, particularly emerging requirements from forests, growing challenges and way forward. It is great, it is really great to see you all today in this conference. On this great occasion, we feel extremely proud to have Dr. Krishan Khan Paul, Honorable Governor of Uttarakhand State, as the chief guest of today's function, who promptly accepted our invitation despite his extremely busy schedule and consented to grace this event of global significance. Honorable Sir, your gracious presence on this occasion has inspired all of us. On behalf of the conference organizers and my own, I offer our most grateful welcome to you, sir. We are looking forward to your inspiring inaugural address on the occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to inform you that Shri Anil Madhav Dave, Honorable Union Minister of State, holding independent charge of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, has conveyed his blessings for the successful conduct of the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference, as he could not join us today owing to the fact that Indian Parliament's budget session is currently going on, and today is the day for Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. We would definitely miss his gracious presence. However, he ensured to communicate his feelings, thoughts and wishes for the conference through a recorded message which will be played shortly. Among dignitaries, we have with us our distinguished guest of honor, Shri Ajay Narayan Jha, Secretary to the Government of India, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Despite his hectic schedule again, he has been kind enough to join the conference on the very opening day. Sir, you have encouraged us by your gracious presence. I extend a very cordial welcome to you and look forward for your advice to make this conference a great success. The conference is fortunate to have presence of several world leaders and renowned personalities in the field of forestry, which include Dr. John Innes, Chairperson Standing Committee on Commonwealth Forestry Association and Dean Forestry in the University of British Columbia, Canada, Dr. Michael Klein, Deputy Executive Director, International Union of Forestry Research Organization, UPRO, from Vienna, Austria, Dr. Peter Holmgren, Director General, Center for International Forestry Research, that is CIFOR, Bogor, Indonesia, Dr. Anil Kumar, Additional Director General of Forest, Government of India, Dr. S.S. Negi, former Director General Forest and Special Secretary to Government of India, and Dr. Suresh Chandra Garola, Director General, Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, DEHRADUN, who are also gracing the dais. Shortly, they will share with us their views on the emerging forestry perspective. These illustrious professionals will not only acquaint us with much desired future strategies for management of forests, but they will also help us in steering the proceedings all through 5 days of the conference based on their immense knowledge, professional acumen and expertise in the field. I am grateful to all professionals present on the dais, and we are deeply honored to have them amongst us. A conference like this cannot be successful without the presence, contribution and active deliberations by learned delegates who have taken all the trouble to travel from distant countries and different parts of India to participate in the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference. Among delegates, we have adequate representation of forestry scientists, practitioners, policy and decision makers, non-governmental and community-based organizations. We at FRI have made all efforts to make sure that delegates have a comfortable stay at DEHRADUN. I know that in spite of all sincerity, on part of the organizers, there might have been some shortcomings. I'm sure our learned delegates will ignore such inadequacies and bear with us. I am grateful to you all for coming and joining us here today and delighted to offer a very warm welcome to all our learned delegates. Ladies and gentlemen, a large number of senior foresters and forestry scientists, as well as forest officers and scientists from the state forest departments and central government organizations located in DEHRADUN and other parts of the country are also attending this conference as our illustrious guests. Your presence in the conference is indicative of your keen interest in forestry and emerging global expectations for attaining goals of sustainable development. Your presence today has profusely stimulated us. We are deeply appreciative and offer a very warm welcome to all our renowned guests to the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference. Our media personnel have been actively involved in the preparation of 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference for nearly past month and a half by way of highlighting the significance of this event in their respective media. A large number of media representatives are present today. I am sure that they will take full advantage of this excellent opportunity to interact with world's luminaries in the field of forestry present here, and they would provide adequate or wide coverage to the proceedings of the conference on day-to-day basis. I welcome all media personnel on this occasion. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome one and all to 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference. I'm sure that your experiences here will be invigorating and rewarding. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, ma'am. As you know, this is the 19th Commonwealth session. This is the inaugural session, and we have amongst us the pleasure of having amongst us Dr. John Innings, Chair of the Standing Committee on Commonwealth Forestry. Dr. John Innings is the Dean of the Faculty of Forestry at the University of British Columbia. He is the Chair of the Commonwealth Forestry Association since 2010 and has worked on a range of issues associated with forests. Let me take this pride to call upon Dr. John Innings for the address, please.
Your Excellency, Dr. Christian Kant-Paul, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you here on behalf of the Standing Committee on Commonwealth Forestry and also on behalf of the Commonwealth Forestry Association. This conference has a long history. Believe it or not, from this session, which is very formal, it was established as an informal forum for foresters and all those with an interest in the forestry sector to meet and exchange knowledge and experience. And I hope over the coming days that is exactly what you will do in this room. The conference has a long history. The very first one was held in 1920 in London. It lasted a week during July, and it was chaired by the chairman of the British Forestry Commission. And the chairman of the British Forestry Commission has a tradition of being here, and I'm glad that Sir Harry Studholme is here today to represent the Forestry Commission. The second conference was held in 1923 in Canada, and it lasted not 5 days, but from 25th July to the 7th of September. I'm not sure that we could all afford such a long trip. But actually, 5 years later in Australia, they outdid that. And in Australia, they went from 21st August to 22nd October. I looked through the minutes of those meetings, and the London one was very much a business meeting, but in Canada, they seem to emphasize the sumptuous luncheons and magnificent hospitality. Well, I'm getting hints that that's going to be emulated here at this conference. In Australia, the minutes emphasize the magnificent Jarrah and Karri forests of Western Australia. But then they got over to the east and ultimately to Tasmania. And in Tasmania, they noted that Tasmanian foresters need to come a long way. I'm not sure that they have actually come all that way, and I'm looking at the chair of Forestry Tasmania, who's in the audience. As we heard, in 1968 in New Delhi, we had a Commonwealth Forestry Conference. And that was the first one that had a theme. And the theme was changing objectives of forest management. That theme could actually be again today, because we are in a time of changing management. It is a great pleasure for me to be here in this building, because this is a historic building and a historic room. Unfortunately, some of the photos are actually covered up by the banner, but I believe behind the banner is a picture of Sir Dietrich Brandis, the very first Inspector General of Forests of India, appointed in 1864. And he was here till 1884, followed by Sir William Schlick, who you can see his picture. Sir Dietrich influenced many people, including Berthold Ribbentrop, another director of this institute, but also, perhaps surprisingly, Carl Schenk, who was the person that formed the first forestry school in the USA, known as the Biltmore School. He also heavily influenced Gifford Pinchot and Henry Graves, the first and second chiefs of the US Forest Service. In fact, the notes that Sir Dietrich put together on the composition of a forest service were actually used by Gifford Pinchot in designing the US Forest Service. So this building and the people who have been here really have an incredible history that I'm sure many of the Indian delegates are very familiar with, but some of the international delegates may be less familiar with. So what are we trying to do over the next few days? We would like this conference to serve as a key forum for all those concerned with forestry. We would like it to provide a platform to encourage and strengthen forestry research and development. We would like it to identify and address critical issues in the management of forests for the sustenance of rural, tribal and indigenous communities, something that I personally think is incredibly important, coming from a country where we have just as many issues in this area as do many other countries in Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia. And finally, it is to provide a stage for all stakeholders to collaborate. And I really hope that over the next few days and during the field trips, you will have the opportunity to talk to each other, to learn from each other, and to take messages with you back to your respective countries, states, forest services, about where we are going with forestry, because forestry is changing, and it is changing quite dramatically. In India, we're seeing changes. Well, I won't steal what I'm sure is going to be said by some of the other speakers, but we are seeing big changes, just as we are in other countries, whether it be Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or India, Sri Lanka, or any of the other 52 Commonwealth countries. So I really hope that over the next few days you will learn from each other. I encourage you to go to sessions that you're not necessarily familiar with. Don't just go to your own specialist sessions. Try and learn something while you're here about what is going on perhaps in another country or another state, or in a topic that you're not familiar with. This is an opportunity for you to learn. It's an opportunity for you to pass on your knowledge to others. And I wish you a very successful conference.
Thank you very much, Dr. John, for highlighting the need to adapt the curricula and academic content of our educational programs for forestry professionals and scholars from all around the world to reflect the changing realities in the forest sector. Thank you very much, sir. And now I'm going to call upon Dr. Suresh Chandra Gairola, Director General ICFRE, DEHRADUN. He is a forestry professional with 35 years of experience and expertise in forest conservation and management. Dr. Gairola.
Chief guest of this inaugural session, Dr. K.K. Paul, Honorable Governor of Uttarakhand. Guest of honor, Mr. Ajay Narayan Jha, Secretary to Government of India, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Special guest, Dr. Ennis, Chair CFA, Dr. Clean from UFRO, Dr. Holmgren, DG C4, Dr. S.S. Negi, former DGF and Special Secretary, Government of India, Dr. Anil Kumar, Additional DG, Dr. Savita, Director FRI, Dr. Neelu Gera, delegates from Commonwealth Nations, distinguished guests, representatives of media, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you all. On behalf of Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, I extend a warm welcome to you all to this inaugural session of the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference. The Commonwealth countries account for more than 1/5 of the world's forests and provide a wide range of ecosystem services to humankind. Forests are increasingly recognized as a global resource, and they are expected to play an important role in achieving sustainable development goals at the time when the entire world is facing enormous environmental challenges. The present meet of CFC thus provides an important platform to the professionals and scientific fraternity for sharing knowledge and experiences to address the threats of degradation to the forests, emerging requirements in wide disciplines of forestry, and increasing expectations from the world's forests. Sustainable forest management has assumed critical importance as never before in the light of climate change threats, rapid urbanization, deforestation, habitat degradation and fragmentation, proliferation of invasive alien species, global loss of tree cover, and reduction in forest productivity. When we consider the global scenario, there has been a decrease of 1% forest land area, that is 129 million hectares, in 25 years from 1990 to 2015, representing minus 0.13 annual rate of reduction. Natural forests have decreased, whereas planted forests have increased over the period. Average per capita forest has declined from 0.8 hectares to 0.6 hectares per person. The production and consumption of wood in general has increased, and reliance on wood fuel remained large. Since 1990, 150 million hectares of forests have been added for biodiversity conservation. Forest area under management plans, certification, and private ownership has increased. However, the rate of forest area loss is declining over the past few years. Despite multiple challenges, the forest cover in India has increased from 19.52% in 1981-82 to 21.34% in 2013-14, a net increase of 1.82% over about 30 years period. However, huge challenges remain in terms of effective enforcement of law, sustainable forest management practices, improvement in productivity, capacity building of forestry institutions, incentivization of local communities, etc. Global institutions need to join hands to address these challenges. Forestry research and education plays an important role in furthering knowledge and removing impediments in sustainable forest management. Organizations like CFA, UFRO, CFOR, and ICFRE are playing a key role in addressing global, regional, and local forest resource conservation and management issues. There is a need to further develop strong synergies among research organizations and also to ensure that relevant research findings are synthesized, upscaled, and translated on the ground by practicing forest managers and conservationists. The importance of need-based research, particularly in case of developing countries, in the light of resource crunch, cannot be overemphasized. In the recent past, ICFRE has realigned its research system in line with the nation's priority in various sectors. These thrust areas are adequately reflected in the sub-themes of this conference. ICFRE is keen to forge cooperation with international and national organizations to further these research priorities. There is a need to make greening and forest conservation a mass movement with active involvement of local communities, students, and civil society. Their stake in sustainable forest resource management needs to be emphasized. Valuation of environmental goods and services is important to register contribution of forest conservation in gross domestic product. Providing alternate wood products, wood substitution, developing sustainable harvesting techniques, capacity building, and marketing linkages will augment the financial resources of local communities dependent on forests for their livelihood. Recent global forums have emphasized on the scientific research which takes into account biological, physical, social and economic aspects as well as technological development and its application in the field of sustainable forest management, conservation and development. These concerns, I hope, are going to be adequately addressed during this 5-day conference. I am sure that scientific exchange facilitated through forum of Commonwealth Forestry Conference will immensely help forestry fraternity across the globe to understand the linkages between forestry and other sectors and make them familiar with recent advances and new innovations, besides exploring potential collaborators in the field of their interests. I take this opportunity to once again welcome all the delegates to Doon Valley. I am sure that over the next 5 years, all the delegates will have rewarding and fruitful interaction. I wish the conference all success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very precious words. It has been rightly said that no matter where you live, forests make your life possible. When a forest is lost anywhere, people feel it everywhere. I would now request Dr. S.S. Negi, former Director General, Forest and Special Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Dr. Negi belongs to the Himachal Pradesh cadre of the Indian Forest Service.
His Excellency Dr. K.K. Paul, Governor of Uttarakhand and Chief Guest of today's function, other dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here today. The team of FRI and the team of ICFRI has taken the initiative in organizing this great event in India after a long time. Let us all join and give a big round of applause to Dr. Savita and her team for excellent organization. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Makkah of South Asian forestry. This is the place, DEHRADUN is the place where forestry in the entire South Asian region started. My colleague Dr. John Ains mentioned about the role of this place in US forestry. To add on, we had a forester, Dr. Gibson, who went and laid the foundation of Australian forestry. This I learned when I went to Australia. So we have had great luminaries who have not only laid the foundation of forestry in South Asia, but in other parts of the world as well. Ladies and gentlemen, these are occasions where foresters from all over the world, from all over the Commonwealth countries get together and share their knowledge and experiences. The dimensions of forestry in South Asia are changing. They have changed over the years. When we started in 1820 or 1825, we were into heavy exploitation of our forest resources, irrespective of the availability of these resources. But gradually and fortunately, this has changed. In this part of the world, we are now more into conservation forestry, more into the role of forests for ecological security. As you know, this region experiences very heavy rainfall, particularly during the monsoon season, basically July to September. And the presence of forests, particularly in our mountain regions, helps us to prevent or to minimize the problem of floods, the problem of soil erosion, and so many other things. So let us also focus in this speak on the role of forests for the ecological security of a particular region. India's forests are about, I think, 71 million hectares, plus we have tree outside forests, another 8-9 million hectares. This makes India amongst the top 10 countries of the world so far as the forest resources are concerned. Fortunately, the period of deforestation is behind us. We do have problems of forest degradation, but deforestation is behind us. However, there are challenges. These challenges include the heavy dependence of 100,000 people on the forests, the heavy 100,000 villages on the forests, 300 million people still depend on forests, and there are so many other pressures on the forests as we develop into an emerging economy. These issues, I'm sure, our colleagues, Indian colleagues, will share with our colleagues from the other countries and learn from their experiences. So, at this stage, I once again wish all the delegates all the best and wish the conference a great success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Negi. Environment and forests are global resources and need to be focused upon by the global fraternity. This is the inaugural session of the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference, and present here amongst us is Dr. Anil Kumar, Additional Director General, SC, Forest and Special Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. Dr. Anil Kumar is an IFS officer of 1980 batch, Manipur Tripura cadre. A humble request, sir, to come to the dais for the address, please.
श्री कृष्णकांत पाल जी, महामहिम गवर्नर उत्तरांचल, और आज के टुडेज चीफ गेस्ट, my senior colleague Mr. Ajay, the guest of honor of this function, my friends sitting on the dais, friends and delegates from abroad and within India. I welcome you all to this prestigious conference on the behalf of the Ministry of Environment, Forest, Government of India and India itself. Now, I will relate to you the few progresses which we have made in the recent 2-3 years in the forestry sector and what are the challenges. The Commonwealth country has a common legacy. Every country has got its own specific problems, but there are 2-3 problems which are common to all of us who have assembled here. I have been told about more than 60 delegates are there from abroad, and India is, since a diverse country, we are having a representation from all over the country. The National Forest Policy 88 emphasized on the people's participation, and it has taken a lead because presence of the forest guard, who is the lowermost functionary, is in the every village or village panchayat, and we have got joint forest management committee in all the villages. Second thing, this policy is under revision, where we are emphasizing on the 2 things apart from other routine things. One is the hydrology, forest hydrology, and second is, which for the first time we are focusing on the forest management of the Northeast. Northeast, as everybody knows, is one of the 2 hot spots of the country and biodiversity. Now, third challenge which we are facing is the fodder. Now, the milk requirement in the country in 21-22 is going to be double, and therefore we are having 900 metric ton of the fodder at present, and it will increase to 1,800 metric ton. So this conference, I request to deliberate upon that how we are going to meet in the coming future in 6-7 years this demand of fodder. At present, as Dr. Negi told, we are having a lot of dependency upon the forest. Second thing is the hydrology. The sources of water in the forest are drying up. This is there is no estimate, but this is a common observation of a forester. And water all over the India is become a very precious commodity. Now we are to tackle this GIS, remote sensing and geotagging are the techniques which can help us to know the groundwater level, soil moisture, topography and rainfall. Recently in Rajasthan, in last 1 or 2 years, which is a part of the very dry state, had done wonderful work so far as recharge of old system of water storage has been done. It is an example for the country as well as for other countries also. Third thing, as our Dr. Negi has talked, because this conference is about the forest prosperity and the posterity. NTFP, non-timber forest produce, there are, in this sector, there is an estimation that about 10 lakh unorganized labor are working. A lot of work is needed, value addition, market intervention by the government, e-platform like minimum support price like in case of agriculture has to be done. Here also I will like in central India, Madhya Pradesh has done wonderful work regarding the production, regarding the cultivation. They are giving bonus to the tribals, and a deliberate attempt at the policy level, at the research institute level, at the state level, and proactive policy is required, because forestry operations are such operations where we are creating 80% job as wages to the people, and 20% whatever we are spending is for the capital. Now, where we are standing, it is a temple of the research and capacity building. We are facing challenge today of variety which could increase the productivity of the Indian forest from 0.5, 0.6 to 1. I congratulate the team of ICFRE. Just they have released about 15 to 20 varieties, which is going to produce more timber in terms of the mean annual increment per hectare per year. It is still to be tested outside in the field, but I am sure with the work of our scientists, which are one and only one in India, the scientists in ICFRE, they will endeavor more and do more patents and register it and bring it into the market also. Not only patenting, but patenting and bringing it into market is very important. And synchronization among the 10-11 institutes and allied institutes of ministry and parallel organization is the requirement. Third thing, that communication and the support among the Commonwealth countries. The arranging one conference, attending and forgetting the deliberations will not serve us. We have to communicate, because this is an IT age. We can communicate 24/7 and communicate our ideas, communicate our research, and we can help each other in much more fruitful way. Now, fire is coming. I was discussing with my friend John. Last year we have fire, unprecedented fire. This year more unprecedented fire. In February also we have seen in Odisha and other places the fire. How to deal with it? It is a national calamity, national disaster, and these are the challenges where we seek the help of the our Canadian minister was with us. We are seeking your help also regarding this. So I will end here And there are again two things I will emphasize, that planting and water recharging. It should be protected from the individualization. Individualization is important, but it should be protected from individualization, and it should become a social movement. And our learned governor is here, and under his stewardship, Uttarakhand is going to do very pioneering work, I am very sure. And this will help the Indian society, this will help the Commonwealth countries and the world. Now let us join hands to save the forest from the future denudation and protect it for the posterity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. CFC 2017 will certainly give a platform to the scientists, managers, to share their issues and knowledge with each other for a better understanding, and your blessings and expertise are always welcome. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, UFRO is a non-profit, non-governmental international network of forest scientists, which promotes global cooperation in forest-related research and enhances the understanding of the ecological, economic, and social aspects of forests and trees. It is a global network for forest science cooperation. It is a privilege that present here with us today is Mr. Michael Klein, who is the representative of President UFRO, Professor Mike Wingfield, in this conference. Dr. Klein is the coordinator of UFRO SPDC since 2001. May I call upon you, sir, to address the August gathering.
Chief guest, Dr. Krishan Kampal, Honorable Governor Uttarakhand. Guest of honor, Mr. Ayanarayan Jha, Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Climate Change, Government of India. Participating dignitaries, research scientists and professionals of the Commonwealth, ladies and gentlemen. As the Deputy Executive Director of the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, but also personally, it is a great pleasure for me to participate in this 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference, Forest for Prosperity and Posterity, here at FRI in DEHRADUN. And I have the pleasure of being able to bring greetings from Professor Mike Wingfield and the entire UFRO board. On behalf of President Wingfield, I would like to thank CFA Chair Professor John Innes, the Director of Chief Coordinator Dr. Savita of FRI, as well as the organizing committee for the kind invitation for UFRO to participate in this important conference. Also for the opportunity to meet old friends and to get new colleagues known from Commonwealth and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, as many of you are aware, UFRO is the leading global network for science cooperation, uniting more than 15,000 scientists in over 650 member organizations in 125 countries. It makes me proud to say that a substantial number of UFRO member organizations and individual scientists are located in nations that form part of the Commonwealth. In fact, approximately 1/5 of UFRO's membership comes from Commonwealth countries. So 28 of the 52 Commonwealth countries are actively represented in UFRO. For example, our host of this conference, India, is deeply involved in UFRO with 20 member organizations active in UFRO and their scientists who share scientific knowledge with their colleagues and relevant research groups and working parties over the entire world. UFRO celebrates World Congresses every 4 to 5 years in different host countries, notably including countries of the Commonwealth. Here are some examples. In 1956, the UFRO Congress took place in Oxford, UK. In 1990 in Montreal, Canada. In 2000 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And in 2005 in Brisbane, Australia. And most recently, in 2012, UFRO held a very successful first regional Congress in Africa, in Nairobi in Kenya. The close relationship between the Commonwealth and UFRO is exemplified also by the fact that 4 UFRO presidents have been from Commonwealth nations. Dr. MacDonald from the United Kingdom, Dr. Salamat McNor from Malaysia, Professor Jeffrey Burley, United Kingdom, and currently Professor Mike Wingfield from South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, as pointed out by various speakers already today, the theme Forests for Prosperity and Posterity and the associated topics of this conference have been well chosen. As we are all aware, forests and trees provide indispensable benefits to people around the globe. They constitute an irreplaceable natural asset with significant potential for further development. At the same time, forests and trees face numerous threats, locally and globally. Science, including natural and social sciences, plays a critical role in capturing the potential of forests for sustainable growth and development, and in mitigating biological and anthropogenic threats to their health and stability. Reliable research must underpin their sustainability, and this is the area in which UFRO plays a hugely important role at the entire globe. In connecting more than 15,000 forestry research globally, UFRO provides a key catalyst for the substantial component of global forest research. Against this background, the conference offers a rich thematic and scientific program. The challenges and opportunities highlighted by the conference program are equally addressed by UFRO's network. Importantly, the current UFRO strategy recognizes that forests cannot be seen as isolated systems. They are interconnected with other environmental and human systems. In this context, the strategy of UFRO focuses on 5 themes: forest for people, forest and climate change, forest and forest products for a greener future, biodiversity, ecosystem services and biological invasions, and last but not least, forest, soil and water interactions. These themes are addressed by UFRO's more than 250 research units, which offer multiple entry points for collaboration for scientists and stakeholders around the globe. And these 250 research units organize 80 to 90 meetings per year around the globe. So every week, roughly 2 UFRO meetings take place in average, and even in this week as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, UFRO will soon reach a major milestone when we celebrate our 125th anniversary this year. To mark this event, the Anniversary Congress will be held from 18th to 22nd of September 2017 in Freiburg, Germany. Germany is the country where the organization was founded in 1892. According to the Congress theme, Interconnecting Forest, Science and People, we will look at the entire spectrum, ranging from the early foundation of the organization to the future of forestry and forest research. The discussion will focus on the most pressing issues globally. For example, how to enhance the contribution of forest research towards mitigating climate change, conserving biodiversity, ensuring water quality, creating income and employment, and improving the quality of life. More than 3,400 abstracts have been submitted to the Congress so far, including a large number of abstracts from India and from Commonwealth nations. Early bird registration has now opened for the 125th anniversary, and everybody, of course, is welcome to join us in Freiburg. We at UFRO hope that you will, of course, join us to celebrate UFRO's past achievements, highlighting the vital role that it has played in providing a sound basis for political decision at all levels and in further strengthening collaboration with our stakeholders. The Anniversary Congress will also provide you with an opportunity to share the results of this Congress here, the Commonwealth Forestry Conference, with colleagues and peers from around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to again emphasize that the Commonwealth, like UFRO, is an important network of collaborating institutions and individuals. And in a manner very similar to UFRO congresses, this Commonwealth Forestry Conference provides an important forum for exchange, fosters cooperation, and supports and initiates new encounters in the diverse field of forest practice, policy, and research. Together with UFRO President Mike Wingfield, I wish the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference and all of you an exciting and very successful meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It is indeed commendable that UFRO unites more than 15,000 scientists in almost 700 member organizations for over 110 countries. And it is noteworthy that all the scientists cooperate in UFRO on a voluntary basis. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Peter Holmgren is the Director General of the Center for International Forestry Research, C4, where he leads a team of more than 200 scientists and staff operating together with partner institutions in over 40 countries. Dr. Holmgren has a PhD in forestry and has 26 years of experience in international forestry and agriculture. A very warm welcome, sir, and a request to come to the dais for the keynote address.
Okay, there was a button to press. Thank you very much, Honorable Governor, Secretary, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends of all. It's a great honor to be here in this fantastic hall, in this fantastic institute, to have a keynote at the opening of this Commonwealth Conference. I want to speak about the opportunities of forestry today. And I don't think this is something that anyone in this room needs to be convinced about. And that's not the point. The point is that everybody else needs to be convinced about it. In a world where we increasingly hear new facts, different facts, alternative facts, politics being shaped in new ways, we need to stand up for the opportunities of forestry. But to do that, we as a forestry community also have a role to play. We have to put those opportunities into context, into a context that is understood way outside this room or outside our own community. We need to say and tell the story about how does forestry fit into sustainable development. And to do that, I want to start by looking at some context. The context we need to relate to. In the past 50 years, 1960 to 2010 approximately, we've seen some tremendous developments. We've seen the world's economy triple. We've seen the world's food production triple. We've seen the greenhouse gas emissions triple. And we've seen the number of people that are not food insecure also triple. A very interesting correlation. I would like my presentation to come up if that's possible. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Now you see the same as I see on my screen. So this is a very interesting correlation. Let me add a few things to that correlation. We also have the food prices, which worries many people, and is a topic for intense politics. It's been more or less stable over these 50 years. Another thing that has been unfortunately stable is the number of people who are food insecure. There were about 1 billion people in 1960, and there are about 800 million today. I don't think we can call this a successful development. Now, this is the past. What happens now if we look at the future? Well, if you take the different political context, the different visions that we have in our different communities, it may look like this. Our income, our economic development will continue according to the OECD, and the GNI per capita will continue to go up. The food production will continue to go up, fortunately. The number of food insecure people will continue to go up. And if the Paris Agreement and every action that comes out of that holds true, then the greenhouse gas emissions will go abruptly down, as will, according to estimates of the Food and Agriculture Organization, the number of food insecure people. This is the world as we depict it 50 years down the line. Now, what will it take to make this happen? And what is the role of forestry in that? Often we hear about forests as a problem. It's deforestation, forest degradation, illegal logging, rights of indigenous peoples, loss of biodiversity, etc. It is almost always a problem when you hear about forests on the international scene. The opportunities are not really part of that picture. So, to what extent are we talking about real-world issues when we listen to these problems? And to what extent are these the results of how we frame these problems and frame them in ways where we miss the opportunities? I'm now going to go through 7 different reframing exercises where I ask you to consider, is this the picture that's being provided in the general debate, or is it something we perhaps need to emphasize a little bit more? The first one is well known to many of us. It's a quote by Jack Westover, who was an FAO forester some time ago. He said that forestry is not about trees, it's about people. It's only about trees insofar as trees can serve the needs of people. By that, saying that at the end of the day, it is about human welfare and human prosperity and human collaboration. The trees are a means for that. Perhaps we hear a little bit more about the forests as such these days. Secondly, climate change. Yes, we have an enormous problem and it has to be fixed. Every day, 100 megatons of greenhouse gases are emitted. Every day. This is a major problem. We have to fix it. There is no doubt about that. What about the opportunity? Every day, 1,500 million tons of carbon is being bound by photosynthesis in the world's vegetation. This is 15 times as much. This is the opportunity we have to build not only a world with less climate change, but also a world with multiple value chains of products and services that we all need for the future. The third exercise is about chainsaws. Chainsaws are often used these days as something extremely bad. My organization, not least, have used it on covers of publications that depict the destruction of forests and seemingly bad direction that we're all heading in. There may be some truth in that. Sometimes there's a lot of truth in that. But let's also remember that this is not only a chainsaw, it is also a value chainsaw. It is the beginning of many economic activities that, if done sustainably, will help us towards that future of better prosperity based on forestry. Similarly, we often hear about losses of trees, tree cover losses. This is a very common feature in international news and reporting. But let's remember that a well-harvested tree is not a loss. It's a gain in renewable materials and sustainable landscapes. It has to be done in the right way, obviously, but let's not forget that using trees, using forests in good ways for our own benefits is a good thing. The fifth example is from Indonesia, where I currently live. In 2015, we had an unusually strong case of smoke and haze occurring from fires. Many talk about these as forest fires. I talk about them as agriculture fires, because the purpose of almost all of these fires were agriculture development. So we should really look at them as agriculture fires and not make them part of the forestry discourse. And looking into that a bit more, a lot of headlines were made about these fires, and they were very much directed towards climate change and the emissions that were caused. But I think that we should be careful about that and think about whose agenda was that news reporting for. In reality, a lot of things on the ground were happening that makes the notion of excessive reporting on the emissions of greenhouse gases, serious as it is, to be even ethically questionable. We had 100,000 premature deaths estimated from these fires, so maybe that is another reframing to be done. The local issues may not always be reflected in that global news reporting. Number 6 is an example from Germany, and this picture is a painting in an old castle outside Bonn called Bad Godesberg. The painting is from approximately the year 1800, and you can see a landscape beyond the castle with hills and the river Rhine flowing through the landscape. And one thing that strikes you is that there isn't a lot of forests in this picture. So I was there for a meeting last summer, and I went out on the terrace and I took a picture with my smartphone. And it may not be very visible on this screen, but if you compare the situation in 2016 with the one in 1800, you can see that there are major differences. This is now a forested landscape, lots of trees, lots of other things have changed too in the landscape. And of course, the communities living in these landscapes have a very different situation now than in 1800. The point of this reframing exercise is that we need to think long term. Yes, we have lots of policies, lots of targets, lots of indicators that expect results in 2020 or 2030. That's all good. But we also need that longer term perspective. We need to think that the changes that we are looking for may take longer. They may also take longer to verify and to measure. And that's my next reframing exercise. I wrote an article in our online forest news last year when we had 3 different assessments of the global forest coming out at the same time. And the results were very different. They told different stories. So I wrote an article that talked about the new global assessments on the forest, and I made a parallel with the tale that I think is from this region of the world about the blind man and the elephant. The blind men are checking out the elephant. They're all looking at they're feeling on different parts of the elephant, and they're coming up with different stories. So they all have a correct answer, but none of them see the whole picture. This is very much the situation we have when we talk about measurements of progress in today's forestry world. And despite that, we can look at some good developments. We see from the FAO reports, if you go back to 1980 and you look at how much forest is being lost every year, this number is going down, and currently stands at between 3 and 4 million hectares per year. India, as we've heard already, is a very good example of this development, of reversing the loss of forest into the other direction. This is a positive message. We don't hear that positive message very much in the debate. So out of this, I take a few messages that when we frame forestry, when we frame where the sector or the ambitions of forestry go, there are some areas that can be problematic in the current discourse. One is that a lot of focus is on the environment, whereas people and prosperity should also be there. One is that we see a lot of top-down and global overriding local in the debate. Yes, climate change is important, we have to deal with it, but at the same time we can't do that at the expense or by forgetting about the billions of people depending on forests and forestry locally. We have the sector silos issues and dichotomization of problems. The graph I showed in the beginning is an overlay of different sectors' views of the future, and we have to improve how we look at these sectors together. Fourthly, as I already mentioned, we have a tendency to look fairly shortly to the future, whereas, and particularly as foresters, we need to have a longer-term perspective. And I urge you to bear that one particularly in mind. And then finally, we may sometimes base our debates, our missions, our politics, our policies, on a sense that we actually know what's going on, and we need to have you may be a bit careful with that as we move forward, and invest in research, obviously. So, turning this around, what are the alternative framings? What are the opportunities that we have? And there I want to highlight the Sustainable Development Goals. All of you have heard of them. That's precisely the point. Almost everywhere you go in the development world today, everyone has heard about the Sustainable Development Goals. So if we want to take forestry to the broader context, this is the avenue. We should be careful also with SDGs that they can be boxed in. There is a certain tendency to deal with one goal at a time. This is not really how it should be done. We should use the SDGs more as a holistic framework, and when we design our actions, our policies, we should not isolate them and do them one by one, because then we're back into the same type of silos as we started in. A couple of years ago, C4 Scientists was invited to the UN General Assembly to talk about how does forestry fit into the new context of Sustainable Development Goals. And DEHRADUN, she's one of our Indonesian scientists, she told the story that forest is really important for so many different things: food, water, energy, housing, livelihoods, climate change, biodiversity, resilience. Again, nothing new to us in this room, but saying that to the General Assembly and telling it to the mainstream development politics and politicians is important. We should also broaden that frame to landscapes. When we talk about forestry, we should never do that without considering agriculture and everything else that's going on in the landscape. We should not let the fragmentations of sectors and institutions hinder us from finding the good solutions in landscapes. And we must embrace local ownership and diversity in priorities. Again, I think in India you have an excellent example of how this can be done through local drive of the solutions. So forestry, in my view, should be addressed and applied in this context. And let's remember that this is a challenge for current institutions. It is not always easy to find those new avenues of working together with communities that speak different languages, have other priorities, and start working out how can we find joint solutions and joint research projects, joint narratives going forward. What we've done is to work with a lot of partners from different sectors, from finance to agriculture, to legal, to water, etc., around what we call the Global Landscapes Forum. I won't say more about that in this presentation, but this is how we see an important way forward. And at C4, we've taken this new avenue, this Sustainable Development Goal context, one step further. In our new strategy, which I think Vito, who is here from us with the booth, can demonstrate for you. He has the material. We aligned our work in forestry with all the 17 SDGs. We didn't exclude any of them, because we thought that forestry is important, not just for forest management as such. It's important for equal opportunities, for gender, for justice, for food, for prosperity, for investments, even for the sea. We work a lot on mangroves, obviously. And so we defined our strategy, we defined how we organize our structure internally around the Sustainable Development Goals, and we don't exclude any one of them. One nice thing about this is that when you meet people outside the forestry community, it takes about 30 seconds to explain what we do, because they know the SDGs. This is a great opportunity. So in other words, reframed and redefined, I say to the question, what is forestry? Forestry is all contributions to sustainable development made possible through forests and trees. And as a last slide in this presentation, I want to make a very personal note, because everything I said has been said before. And one example of that is this citation from a FAO forestry paper number 31. It's from a conference on intermediate technology in forestry, which was held here, DEHRADUN, in 1981. And it talks about forestry management becoming more dependent on other systems, aware of its development role, socially responsible, diversified, multidisciplinary, etc. Okay, it's a different, slightly different moment in time, but it is essentially the same things we're talking about today. We should remember that this has been said before. And my very personal note about this is that this quote is from a Swedish forester who was at this conference. His name is Floyd Werner, and he actually had an office in this building. And more importantly to me is that he's also my late father-in-law, and I was fortunate enough to meet Ann-Sophie, who is also a graduate forester and is with us today. So that's how circles are coming together, in my view. It's great to be back here in DEHRADUN. It's great to have had this opportunity to talk to the conference, and thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Holmgren. We are thankful for your leadership to enhance and broaden the role of forestry in the global development agenda to address the major challenges of poverty, food security, climate change, and green economy. Thank you very much for championing the cause of climate-smart agriculture concept. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a matter of great pleasure that the guest of honor in today's inaugural session is Mr. Ajay Narayan Jha, Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. Mr. Jha is an Indian Administrative Service Officer of 1982 batch of Manipur cadre. A humble request, sir, to come to the dais for the address, please.
Your Excellency, Dr. Krishnakant Paul, Honorable Governor of Uttarakhand, Dr. John Innes, Chair, Commonwealth Forestry Association, dignitaries and colleagues on the dais, learned delegates representing Commonwealth Nations and leading forestry organizations, members of the media and civil society, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of the Government of India, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, organizers of the conference, and my own, I welcome all the participants and delegates to the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference in this historical campus. We all know that Commonwealth Forestry Association endeavors to bring together forestry professionals and other stakeholders under a single roof to deliberate on forestry issues of mutual concern, as well as to develop programs for collaborative action. Hence, this 4-yearly event of the CFC is truly an excellent opportunity to capture synergies across a range of forestry dialogue streams. The 19th CFC is an appropriate occasion for all stakeholders in this sector, specifically in the larger region of the world represented by the Commonwealth of Nations, to contemplate on how to mainstream actions in the context of recent global events which encompass common concerns about forests, biodiversity, climate change, water use, and sustainable development. In the last 3 decades, prominent global events and themes woven around protection and conservation of our environmental resources have been deliberated and discussed. The Rio 20 Plus, starting in 1992, dealing with the 3 conventions, UNCBD, UNFCCC, and UNCCD, Strategic Plan for Biodiversity, the Aichi targets. Subsequently, in 2015, the Paris Agreement and the UN Initiative on Sustainable Development Goals have all been landmark discussions and agreements that the world has focused on. The UN Initiative on Sustainable Development, held in September 2015, adopted a set of goals to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all. Goal 15 of the agenda calls for protection, restoration, and promotion of sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainable management of forests, combating desertification, and halting and reversing land degradation, as well as halting biodiversity loss. Thus, the theme of this conference, Forests for Prosperity and Posterity, is apt in the context of the UN Initiative on SDGs. The adoption of a climate agreement in Paris and its early ratification by a large number of countries aims for a target of limiting global warming and reducing each party's carbon emissions through nationally determined contributions. In all these, the vital role of forests in various targets underscores the importance that efforts for preservation, conservation, and augmentation of forestry resources has in reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation through various activities. India has had a long history and tradition of harmonious coexistence between man and nature. Human beings here have regarded fauna and flora as part of the family. This is part of our heritage and manifests in our lifestyle and traditional practices. We represent a culture that calls for planet Mother Earth. As our ancient text says, keep pure, for the earth is our mother and we are her children. In India, the State of the Forest Report 2015, the total forest cover is almost 800,000 square kilometers, which is 24% of the geographical area, and there has been a constant increase since 2013, and I believe the next report will also surely give us good results in terms of further augmentation in the total forest areas of the country. In terms of the stock of forests, there is an increase of 110.34 million cubic meters as compared to the assessment in 2013, and 103 million tons in carbon stock during the 2 assessment periods. And the total carbon stock in the forest is estimated to be almost 7 billion tons as of now. We have, in our nationally determined contributions, pledged to create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent through additional forest and tree cover by 2030. This implies adding another 8 million hectares approximately to our forest stock and increasing forestry productivity to an order of substantial magnitude. The Government of India, in our ministry, various state governments together have launched the country-wide programs and new initiatives. India's National Plan on Climate Change has 8 core national missions, which are multi-pronged, long-term and integrated strategies for achieving key goals in the context of climate change. The National Mission for Green India is one of them, and it aims at protecting, restoring and enhancing India's diminishing forest cover and responding to climate change. This mission has adopted an integrated cross-sectoral approach as it is being implemented on both public as well as private lands, with a key role for the local communities in planning, decision-making, implementation and monitoring. Apart from this, the recent legislation, Compensatory Afforestation Act 2016, will enable accumulated resources up to $6 billion to be used by the state governments and the central government to promote investment in conserving and augmenting our national forest resources. We are also one of the few countries, perhaps the only one, which has incentivized forest cover as a criteria in the determination of federal fiscal transfer. The 14th Finance Commission earmarked 7.5% for area under forests in the share of the states from the divisible pool of central taxes. However, despite widespread notable gains, we cannot deny the fact that deforestation and degradation of our forestry resources is a major issue, not only in this country, but worldwide. Concerted efforts are therefore required to communicate to the society at large that reducing deforestation need not be incompatible with economic development. In India, one of the major challenges besetting the forestry sector is the dissonance between the communities that inhabit the forests and the forest administration. How do we harness the potential of non-timber forest produce, medicinal plants, etc. for creating livelihood for people in collection and cultivation of these products and their processing and marketing and use as raw material for industries? Our future path needs to shift from sustained yield forestry to sustainable livelihood forestry. This would make forestry a driver for development by creating livelihood systems for the people in collection and cultivation of these products and their processing and marketing. They can also be used as support systems for growth centers. This would require a multi-pronged strategy, including mobilization and active engagement of forest communities, different stakeholders and partners on the ground in designing and implementing various forestry programs and plans. Certainly, maintenance of diverse forests is vital for humanity. The other major challenge is to augment the forest cover and yields, not only in areas under the forest departments, but also in non-forest areas through agroforestry and creating an enabling environment where investment in growing trees can become an income-generating proposition. This will require continual financing for sustainable management in order to mobilize green investments from the international, regional and national resources, especially coming from the private sector, besides review of the regulatory regime that we have. In India, our firm belief and experience, and also similar experience in the other parts of the world, amply indicate that if we put people in the equation, sustainable forestry management will surely succeed. Before I conclude, I wish all success for the conference. I am sure this conference will go a long way in setting new sets of agenda and programs for various governments and agencies. We in the Government of India are looking forward to your recommendations, which would make forestry the driver for our development and developing collaborations and partnerships with other countries and agencies. Thank you very much, and all my very best wishes for the success of this conference.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jha, for the very precious words, sir. We understand that globally governments are striving for achieving good governance in forest sector also. And now we have a video message of Shri Anil Madhav Dave, Honorable Union Minister of State, Independent Charge, Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India.
उन्नीसवां राष्ट्रमंडल वानिकी सम्मेलन वन अनुसंधान संस्थान देहरादून में 3 से 7 अप्रैल 2017 तक दूसरी बार हर्ष एवं गौरव के साथ आयोजित किया जा रहा है। वर्ष 1920 में यह सम्मेलन 4 वर्षीय अंतराल पर विभिन्न देशों में आयोजित किया जाता है। भारत द्वारा इस सम्मेलन की दूसरी बार आयोजित किए जाने पर हम सभी गौरवान्वित महसूस कर रहे हैं। 19वें CFC का आयोजन पर्यावरण, वन एवं जलवायु परिवर्तन मंत्रालय, भारतीय वानिकी अनुसंधान एवं शिक्षा परिषद तथा वन अनुसंधान संस्थान द्वारा किया जा रहा है, जिसमें राष्ट्रमंडल वानिकी संगठन का सहयोग है। पहली बार भारत ने 1968 में इस सम्मेलन में मेजबानी की थी। राष्ट्रमंडल वानिकी सम्मेलन के आयोजन का विषय समृद्धि एवं सुनिश्चित भविष्य के लिए वन है। वन अनुसंधान संस्थान में इस अवसर पर 40 से भी अधिक राष्ट्रमंडल देशों के वानिकी एवं अन्य शोधकर्ता सम्मिलित हो रहे हैं। मुझे बताया गया है कि इस सम्मेलन में लगभग 700 पंजीकृत प्रतिनिधि सहभागी कर रहे हैं। इस अवसर पर मैं सभी प्रतिनिधियों तथा अतिथियों का 19वें राष्ट्रमंडल वानिकी सम्मेलन में हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूँ तथा इस सम्मेलन की उत्कृष्ट सफलता की शुभकामनाएं देता हूँ। प्रकृति ने मानव प्रजाति के कल्याण हेतु वनों को हमें विरासत के रूप में प्रदान किया है। अतः सामाजिक कल्याण एवं भलाई तथा वनों के सतत विकास हेतु हमें सभी प्रयास करना है। आप सभी जानते हैं कि समस्त देश अत्यधिक पर्यावरणीय चुनौतियों का सामना कर रहा है। अतः वनों का वैज्ञानिक प्रबंधन, जैव विविधता संरक्षण, आहार एवं जल सुरक्षा, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग तथा प्राकृतिक आपदाओं आदि समस्याओं से निपटने के लिए उचित अनुसंधान एवं स्पष्ट नीति निर्धारण की आवश्यकता है। वनों में गरीबी उन्मूलन करने, आजीविका सुधारने तथा जलवायु परिवर्तन का सामना करने के महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाने की अद्भुत क्षमता है तथा वनों से व्यापक रूप से सतत विकास लक्ष्यों में योगदान की आशा की जाती है। वनों का अत्यधिक महत्व होने के बावजूद वन क्षेत्र में वैश्विक स्तर पर सब महत्वपूर्ण परिवर्तन हुआ है। अतः देशों में वन क्षेत्र बढ़ा है, जो कि सतत वन प्रबंधन हेतु किए गए प्रयासों का परिणाम है। इसके विपरीत कुछ देशों में विकास के नाम पर वन आवरण घटा है, जो कि समस्त विश्व के लिए चिंता का विषय है। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर सतत विकास हेतु विज्ञान एवं तकनीकी का विषय योगदान रहा है, लेकिन जैव विविधता, जल संकट तथा भूमि की उत्पादन क्षमता का क्षीण होना हमारे प्रमुख व अत्यंत ज्वलंत समस्याएं हैं। अतः हम सभी इन समस्याओं के निवारण हेतु अग्रसर एवं
वर्तमान परिवर्तन के दुष्प्रभावों का संपूर्ण विश्व सामना कर रहा है। अतः मानव जाति के कल्याण हेतु दीर्घकालीन योजना बनाकर वनों तथा वानिकी पर दुष्प्रभाव डालने वाले सभी कारकों के स्थायी समाधान हेतु अनुसंधान किया जाना आवश्यक है। हमें यह भी देखना है कि आगामी दशकों में वानिकी कैसे विकसित होगी तथा कौन से विकल्पों पर अमल किए जाने से मानव कल्याण संभव होगा। भारतवर्ष में अधिकांश जनसंख्या नदियों से अपनी आजीविका एवं अन्य विकास कार्यों के हेतु वनों पर निर्भर रहती है। विशेष परिस्थितियों एवं अत्यधिक जनसंख्या के दबाव के बावजूद भारत में वन तथा जैव विविधता संरक्षण तथा जलवायु परिवर्तन न्यूनीकरण सुनिश्चित करने के लिए कई अहम व कठोर निर्णय लिए हैं। बढ़ती आवश्यकताओं, वैश्विक वचनबद्धता, संयुक्त राष्ट्र सम्मेलन तथा अन्य बहुपक्षीय अनुबंधों व समझौतों को मद्देनजर रखते हुए भारत ने अनेक महत्वपूर्ण एवं ठोस प्रयास किए हैं, जिसमें राष्ट्रीय वन नीति संशोधन, जैव विविधता तथा वर्तमान परिवर्तन न्यूनीकरण हेतु राष्ट्रीय कार्य योजना कोड 2014, वन्य जीवन एवं पर्यावरणीय कानून अनुपालन, राष्ट्रीय हरित ट्रिब्यूनल गठन, वन क्षेत्र बढ़ाने में सरकारी सहयोग, प्रतिपूरक वनीकरण की निधि प्रबंधन तथा आयोजना प्राधिकरण, गंगा यमुना व अन्य प्रमुख नदियों के किनारे वनीकरण करना प्रमुख है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के मार्गदर्शन में जलवायु परिवर्तन हेतु राष्ट्रीय कार्य योजना के अंतर्गत 8 उद्देश्य मिशन का कार्यान्वयन किया गया है, जिसके संरक्षित क्षेत्रों को प्रभावी प्रबंधन तथा बाघ संरक्षण, गांव शहरी रोजगार का स्वयंसेवी पुनर्स्थापन, काष्ठ ईंधन के विकल्प के रूप में LPG से छूट तथा साइंस एक्सप्रेस के साथ व्यापक जागरूकता अभियान चलाया जाना प्रमुख है। हालांकि सरकार देश में सर्वमुखी विकास के लिए अग्रसर है, लेकिन हम पर्यावरण सुरक्षा के बारे में भी उतने ही चिंतित हैं। अतः हम अपने प्राकृतिक संसाधनों जैसे वन, चरागार, नम भूमि तथा समुद्र तटीय संसाधनों की सुरक्षा तथा संरक्षण हेतु सतत विकास कर रहे हैं, ताकि हमारे प्राकृतिक संसाधन सतत विकास लक्ष्यों की ओर अर्थपूर्ण योगदान दे रहे हैं। विकास का दबाव अधिकांशतः जैव विविधता को प्रभावित करता है, अतः हमें उचित संतुलन बनाए रखने के लिए संरक्षण के साथ विकास कार्यों में अपना योगदान सुनिश्चित करना है। वानिकी क्षेत्र से संबंधित नीतियों में जैव विविधता तथा संरक्षण सतत विकास से में वनों तथा अन्य प्राकृतिक परितंत्रों को अविवादित भूमिका पर सावधानी रखने की आवश्यकता है। वन अनुसंधान संस्थान देहरादून में आयोजित किया जाने वाला 19वां राष्ट्रीय मंडल वानिकी सम्मेलन विश्व वानिकी से संबंधित चुनौतियों पर महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाएगा। यह सम्मेलन सतत वन प्रबंधन हेतु अपनाई जाने वाली कार्यनीतियों पर विचार विमर्श का अवसर प्रदान करेगा तथा गरीबी, उन्मूलन, आहार, जल सुरक्षा और जलवायु परिवर्तन जैसे जटिल मुद्दों का सामना करने हेतु मार्ग प्रशस्त करेगा। मुझे विश्वास है कि यह राष्ट्रमंडल सम्मेलन सतत विकास की जटिल नींव के रूप में वानिकी क्षेत्रीय भविष्य का मार्ग तैयार करने में मददगार सिद्ध होगा। इस सम्मेलन के अनुभव उत्प्रेरित करने वाले तथा लाभप्रद सिद्ध होंगे। मुझे पूर्ण आशा है कि आने वाले 5 दिनों में विभिन्न प्रतिनिधि महत्वपूर्ण कार्यसूचना पर सक्रिय रूप से विचार विमर्श कर अपना योगदान देंगे और परिणाम स्वरूप सम्मेलन के देहरादून चार्टर में महत्वपूर्ण प्रस्तुतियां निहित मैं 19वें राष्ट्रमंडल वानिकी सम्मेलन की सफलता हेतु कामना करता हूँ और धन्यवाद देता हूँ।
Thank you very much, Mr. Dave, for your blessings to CFC 2017. Forests are our respite, our places of peace, our natural air filters, our water factories, our medicine cabinet. We can't live without them. Ladies and gentlemen, CFC 2017 has a privilege to have a galaxy of very eminent personalities. Gracing the dais as our chief guest is our Honorable Governor of Uttarakhand, His Excellency Dr. K.K. Paul. An outstanding public service career of over 37 years under government and numerous decorations and commendations. It is absolutely a privilege and honor to call upon our chief guest to the dais for his address, please. Let's have for Dr. K.K. Paul.
A very good morning to all of you. Guest of honor for the conference, Mr. A.N. Jha, Secretary to the Government of India, Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change. Dr. John Ine, Chair of the Standing Committee on Commonwealth Forestry, CSS Negi, former Director General. Dr. Michael Klein, Deputy Executive Director, Dr. Peter Ogden, Director General, Center for International Forestry, Dr. Garola, Director General, Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, Dr. Savita, Director FRI, professional foresters, eminent scientists, distinguished delegates, media personnel, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure for me to be present here on this historic occasion amidst a galaxy of specialists and professionals in the field of forestry research, management and conservation. It is a matter of great honor for India and in particular to the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand and Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education that the Commonwealth Forestry Association has chosen the FRI DEHRADUN as the venue for the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference. Even as the entire world and the humanity are facing enormous environmental challenges, there are high expectations from this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the people of India, the state of Uttarakhand, organizers of the conference, and on my own behalf, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. This historic Forest Research Institute has been in existence now for over 100 years. Recognized by the Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, this world-famous institute is associated with the evolution and development of scientific forestry, not only in the country, but in the entire subcontinent. It has also completed over 25 years as a deemed university. It is interesting to note that the history of forestry in India has its beginnings in this region, and even now, all forest officers receive their training in Doon Valley, which can be called the cradle of Indian forestry. At the same time, this Himalayan region is home of the Chipko movement of conservation that is regarded as an ideal in the environment conservation movements of the world. The pride that this gives to this hill region is immense, and yet we are faced with several aspects related to our forests and environment which need to be dealt with so that the state can benefit from its rich biodiversity. The fragile ecology has kept the region under a threat of natural disasters. Our changing way of life is placing pressure on this region and its forests. Uttarakhand, with its rich biodiversity and fragile ecology, is a state where it becomes extremely important to ensure that the ecological balance and the forest wealth are protected in order to check the problems posed by forests and wildlife. Issues like man-animal conflict, illegal felling of trees, forest fires, land and mountain slides, over-dependence of people on forest resources, and the challenge of balancing environmental conservation with economic and industrial development, as also tourism, needs to be looked into deeply in order to resolve these problems. For this August gathering, there is hardly any need to overemphasize that the health of the world forests is essential for the billions of people of the world, including many of the world's poorest people, who solely depend on forests for their food, fuel, medicine, shelter, and income. It is possible that forest exploitation and unsustainable forest harvests in short term may provide financial and economic incentives to some individuals, some select interest groups, and forest-based industries. However, if they continue to focus on short-term gains, they will never be able to achieve sustainable development goals as it would favor forest destruction. The consequences of such destruction will be even more disastrous for future generations. Recent researches have amply shown that the cash and non-cash incomes of rural poor depend to a very high degree on what the forestry and environmental professionals now call the ecosystem services provided by varied forests. Protecting forests therefore not only makes sense for reducing disaster risk and greenhouse emissions, it also makes pro-poor sense. Yet, despite numerous benefits of stopping deforestation, more than 13 million hectares of forests are cleared around the world each year. This deforestation accounts for around 20% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and it is threatening the future of our planet. Part of the problem arises from the fact that we do not have a system of green accounting. Economists estimate GDP, which is gross domestic product, as a broad measure of national income, and also estimate NDP or net domestic product, which accounts for the use of physical capital. But as yet, we have no generally accepted system to convert gross domestic product into green domestic product that would reflect the use of precious natural resources in the process of generating national income. It is hoped a better clarity on the concept of green domestic product would sensitize the stakeholders more appropriately. The selected theme of 19th CFC, Forest for Prosperity and Posterity, is of utmost relevance as to a great extent. The future of people and the planet is in the hands of professionals like you. It is hoped that this conference would focus on devising appropriate mechanisms and strategies to accomplish the tall order of forest conservation and more specifically sustainable development goals for the overall well-being and prosperity of our world and posterity. Today, keeping the world's remaining forests standing and in good health is of immense value and of utmost significance for the current and future generations to protect and conserve them rather than cutting them down or allowing their degradation. Reduction of emissions from deforestation and degradation and the sustainable development goals are vital at the global, national and local levels. REDD+ has been widely recognized as a unique opportunity for developing countries to reduce emissions from forested lands and to invest in low carbon pathways to sustainable development. REDD Plus is a transformational initiative which aims to advance every strand of sustainable development for current and future generations of the planet. We are all aware that sequestering atmospheric carbon dioxide is a major problem and is at the core of the global warming. Forests are the best and most natural resource acting as carbon sinks due to photosynthesis. As of now, efforts have been successful through greenhouses to maintain a controlled environment for accelerating photosynthesis. I think more research is required to be carried out so that the phenomena of photosynthesis could be catalyzed and accelerated under open sky. This would be of immense benefits to the humanity, as more carbon would be sequestered, more oxygen would be produced, and crop or vegetation cycle could be accelerated. In recent years, the world community and various forestry forums have made it clear that no single agency alone can solve the problem of deforestation all by itself. Instead, various stakeholders need to work together: governments, the private sector, local authorities, NGOs, and indigenous people. Governments need to play their respective roles in legislating, regulating, and upholding laws and other directives. The private sector needs to clean up its supply chain. Citizens need to opt for ethical consumption. NGOs should advocate and help in creating mass awareness. Sustainable Development Goal 15 of the UN proposes to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation and halt biodiversity loss. Under this goal, targets for halting deforestation and ensuring the conservation and restoration of forests have been suggested. I am sure that the learned delegates and forestry professionals who have come from far-flung Commonwealth nations will actively deliberate and share their knowledge and wisdom so as to make this conference successful. I am confident that with your efforts and contributions, the 19th CFC will bring out specific recommendations for short-term and long-term priority actions required for policy and legislative interventions, new initiatives needed towards forestry research, management and conservation by various international organizations and the national and local governments. Before I conclude, I wish all participants a comfortable and a memorable stay at DEHRADUN and all success for this important conference. At the end, I commend the efforts of the organizers and particularly Dr. Savita of Director FRI for organizing this historic event at FRI DEHRADUN. Wish you all the very best. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sir. Your comments are very timely and your enthusiasm regarding forest conservation and management are contagious. We hope to continue receiving your guidance and blessings in our future ventures also. And now, we are going to felicitate our esteemed guest on the dais with a memento as a mark of our love and respect. I request Dr. Garola to kindly present a memento to our chief guest, Dr. K.K. Paul. I would also request Dr. Savita to kindly assist Dr. Garola. Our mark of respect goes to Honorable Governor of Uttarakhand, Dr. K.K. Paul. Thank you very much. Our mark of respect goes to Mr. Ajay Narayan Jha. Our token of love and respect to Dr. John Innes. Our token of respect to Dr. Peter Holmgren. Our mark of respect goes to Dr. S.S. Negi. A token of our respect for Mr. Anil Kumar. And our mark of respect to Mr. Michael Klein. Thank you very much, Dr. Garola, Dr. Savita. This is the inaugural session of the CFC 2017. I quote William Wordsworth, "Come forth into the light of things, let nature be your teacher." Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our hearts for a walk in the woods and listen to the magic whispers of old trees. We've all got to come together and we've got to protect what's left of our forest for the posterity and prosperity of people. On this note, I, Mona Bali, call upon Dr. Neelu Gera, Deputy Director General, Education, ICFRE, and Coordinator of the CFC 2017, to present the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Mona ji. Namaskar. On behalf of the Forest Research Institute, DEHRADUN, the Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, and the Commonwealth Forestry Association, I am honored to propose the vote of thanks to this august gathering. I am extremely grateful to our chief guest, Dr. Krishnakant Paul, Honorable Governor of Uttarakhand, for gracing this inaugural session of the 19th Commonwealth Forestry Conference. Honorable Sir, I extend gratitude for promptly accepting our invitation and presiding over today's inaugural function of the 19th CFC. We are indeed blessed with your gracious presence. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to Shri Anil Madhav Dave, Honorable Union Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, for his valued message and blessings on the occasion. I take this opportunity to express my gratefulness to our guest of honor, Shri Ajay Narayan Jha, Secretary to Government of India, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, for his inspiring presence here this morning. Thank you, sir. I am grateful to Professor John Innes, Chair of the Standing Committee on the Commonwealth Forestry, for interesting ICFRE and Forest Research Institute for organizing this prestigious conference. Sir, it is a matter of great honor for us to host this event. I am extremely thankful to Dr. Michael Klein for representing Dr. Mike Wingfield, President, UFRO, for sharing his views on forestry research, and also appreciate the role of UFRO in the field of global forest conservation and management. I am extremely thankful to Dr. Peter Holmgren, Director General, Center for International Forestry Research, CFOR, for his affable presence in today's function. Sir, your keynote address has set the ball rolling for deliberations about contemporary issues and challenges in the forestry. We are thankful to Shri Anil Kumar, Additional Director General, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, for his valuable contributions in the conference. We are also grateful to Dr. Sharat Singh Negi, former Director General and Special Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, for his distinguished presence. Dr. Nevonen Yoma, Director, Special Projects, Faculty of Forestry, University of British Columbia, Canada, deserves a special thanks for his continuous support in organizing the 19th CFC at FRI. He has always been there to support and guide us in our endeavors. I thank Dr. Suresh Chandra Garola, Director General ICFRE, for providing the guidance and all the support we required for this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to all the delegates who have traveled all the way from different countries as well as from different parts of India to attend this conference. Your participation will greatly enhance the impact of this conference globally. On behalf of ICFRI and FRI, I also thank the High Commissions and embassies in different countries for providing visa to our delegates. On behalf of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, FRI is thankful to various other ministries, including the Ministry of External Affairs and Home Affairs, for providing necessary permissions. Most importantly, we are indebted to our subject matter experts, reviewers and delegates in the field of forestry, environment, wildlife, policy, law and social sector who are going to contribute during the various sessions as keynote, oral and poster presenters in the forthcoming days of the conference. I express my sincere gratitude to them and their representatives for gracing this occasion. Thank you all. I am grateful to the organizers of the various side events by Commonwealth Forestry Association, GIZ, EC Mode, Academy of Forest and Environment Sciences, UFRO, NMPB, FAO, FRI University and Wildlife Institute, covering various themes during the conference, which will be of great importance in creating greater awareness. I also thank the exhibitors, including self-help groups, NGOs and other participating organizations in the exhibition during the conference. My gratitude to Expression Printing Private Limited for providing printing and branding services. I am grateful to Shankhu Baba for providing us fragrances of beautiful flowers which are magical and mystical. I put on record my gratitude for various hotels in DEHRADUN for providing accommodation at special rates to our delegates. We deeply acknowledge the assistance provided by organizations including Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, Indian Institute of Soil and Water Conservation, Indian Military Academy, Central Academy of State Forest Services, Forest Survey of India, ONGC, Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology, Indo-Tibetan Border Police and many others for sparing their guest houses for our participants. Well, you can't do such big and prestigious events like this without sufficient financial technical support. I am grateful to all our sponsors, which include University of British Columbia, Canadian Forest Service, FAO, NMPB, NABARD, and various other national and international organizations, business houses, and industries. I extend my gratefulness to Forest Department of Uttarakhand for providing technical support and logistics in organizing the tours for delegates during the forthcoming in-conference tour. On behalf of the various working groups, conference secretariat, and my own behalf, I thank Dr. Savita, Director FRI, who has been a driving force, and her dynamic leadership has been a constant source of motivation for all of us in hosting this great event at FRI. A special acknowledgement goes to various working groups, volunteers at FRI under the conference secretariat of the CFC. Friends, you deserve a special round of applause for the out-of-ordinary efforts, the extraordinary efforts you have all been putting in making this conference a great success. Last but not the least, I express my gratitude to CFC Secretariat and the entire ICFRI and FRI family who have always been there to put in the extra efforts. Friends from print and electronic media who have provided wide coverage to the conference, encouraging and spreading awareness about the forest and natural resource conservation deserve special mention. I thank one and all whose name I might have skipped, but my heartfelt thank goes to each and everyone who have contributed to the event in any manner. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Once again, I request the august gathering to stand for the national anthem, please.
जय गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता
joining us. Thanks, the very grateful people on the dais. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Well, this is to inform all the delegates that soon we'll have a group photograph at the back side of the building, followed by opening of exhibition by our guest of honor, Shri Ajay Narayan Jha, followed by high tea. And this is to inform all the delegates that they are requested to reassemble at the Convocation Hall for the first plenary session of the conference at 12:30 p.m. sharp. Thank you all for joining us. Have a nice day.
May I have your attention, please? All the delegates are requested to kindly assemble on the back side of this building for the group photograph. Thank you.
यहाँ पर आप रहे होंगे, रॉन्ग है ना? आप रॉन्ग। ऊपर लैपटॉप और उसका बैग भी रखा है, ठीक है? हाँ, मैंने वही रखा है। ये लगा रखी है और पूछना था यार, कुछ सही करेगा भाई।